Hello, San Francisco 49er fans. I'm Jack Hammer, here to bring you the 49er pregame show tonight as they get ready to take on the Tennessee Titans out at Nissan Stadium in Tennessee. This is going to be a really tough matchup, I believe, for the 49ers. Hopefully you guys are ready you've got your stuff all ready to go and you're ready to sit down and watch a game that's probably going to be a lot tougher even than what we've seen the last couple of weeks. Has all the makings of a game that's going to be a slugfest, a little ugly. And the 49ers come into this game at 8-6. They're looking to keep the possibility of chasing down the Cardinals for the NFC West crown going. And they're taking on a Tennessee Titans team that's kind of reeling a little bit here on Thursday Night Football from Nissan Stadium in Tennessee. San Francisco has been really good on these Thursday night games of late. 2-3 in their last three. The only one of those, the one that was lost, was last year to the Green Bay Packers when they lost a number of players due to COVID at the last minute, and the NFL still had them play on Thursday night. However, this is going to be a little bit different. The 49ers, this is the longest they've had to travel for a Thursday night game since going back to the St. Louis Rams during the 2013 season. So a big task here ahead of the 49ers, having to go all the way out across, 2,000 miles across the country. It was 2,000 miles out to St. Louis, 2,200 miles this time. So it's a little bit longer. That last time the 49ers did this, they were able to come out victorious. Difference, though, is that that St. Louis team is nowhere near what the 49ers are going to run into here tonight against Tennessee. That combination of the short turnaround, long flight, and a physical opponent all made this appear to be a scheduled loss when the schedule was announced back over the summer, late spring. And it's going to be a tough matchup for the 49ers. Just a couple of things of note really quick before I get into my five keys is A.J. Brown has been activated for Tennessee. The wide receiver has been activated. Both A.J. Brown and Julio Jones will be going for Tennessee tonight. That's going to be a tough matchup for the secondary in San Francisco. At the same time, Tennessee is going to be without their starting left tackle, Taylor Lewan. He is out tonight, and then his backup is out as well after testing positive for COVID-19. And so that puts Dylan Redunz out of North Dakota State as into the starting lineup, and the expectation is that he's going to be starting on the left side. There's a possibility that they'd flip him over to the right, but Redunz played all of his snaps at North Dakota State from the left side, so flipping him over to the right side tonight, I'm not sure if that's going to be something that we're going to see, but you're going to have Redunz on one side, and David Quisenberry, who was a San Jose State product here from the Bay Area, is over on the right side, and he's really struggled as well. So both of the ends of the Tennessee Titans offensive line are there for the taking for the 49ers. The other position along the offensive front of Tennessee is their left guard. They're missing their left guard as well. So that's a matchup there that could play into the favor of the 49ers. The difference is without Roger Saffold, who is our left guard. Normally, he didn't play last week though either. And in that game last week, Tennessee ran the ball for over 200 yards. So I think if you're a 49er fan and you're looking at this game and you're trying to say that the loss of an offensive lineman is what's going to put the 49ers over the top, I think you need to just put on the brakes just for a second and think about what the 49ers have done with Tom Compton as your starting right tackle. When the 49ers lost McGlinchey and Tom Compton was going to be thrust in the starting lineup, there was a lot of worry among the 49ers fan base with that. And I think you need to think about that as we go into this game tonight. You got to remember who Tennessee is. Tennessee is a team that wants to run the ball. And Tennessee has run the ball very well throughout the season, even without the help of Derrick Henry these last 6 weeks. They've still run the ball very well. They're right around 4.85 yards per carry over the last 3 to 4 weeks. So they're still moving the ball really well. And I think, for tonight, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge for them, not having their starting left tackle there and having to go up against this 49ers front. And so this game's really going to come down to, on the offensive side of the ball, can the 49ers stop the run game, force Ryan Tannehill to pass, and are they going to be able to force him to pass on third and long where they're able to kind of pin their ears back and really get after the quarterback. So we'll jump into my 5 keys here in just a second. But first off, I want to say thank you very much to Wanda for the $20 donation. She says, "Merry Christmas. Thanks for all you do." Thank you very much as well, Wanda. I really appreciate that. That's really generous of you. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you as well. Let's jump into it really quick. I know we got a game that's coming up here pretty soon, and everybody wants to get going to that one. And this is my number one. My number one key for this game is who creates the most turnovers. You know, the Titans, like we talked about, their offense has struggled to score points in these last 6 games without Derrick Henry, but the team has still gone 3-3. And while the loss of Henry has been a problem for Tennessee, the real problem when you look at their 3 losses that they've had over this period of time, and I think part of why you've seen them struggle to score, is because the offense has not been able to hold on to the football. In those 3 losses for Tennessee now over this last 6-week stretch, they've turned the ball over 13 times. They had 2 games with 4, another one with 5. You're not going to win football games when you're turning the ball over that much. And on top of that, they weren't able to force turnovers. So, if you look at the game last week that they had against Pittsburgh, there were at least 2 Pittsburgh drives in the second half that went a total of, I think, 12 yards. I think one was 5, one was 7 that they scored points off. And that was really the difference in the football game. So the Tennessee defense is going to be tough on the 49ers. We'll get to that a little bit more here in a minute. But this turnover matchup is huge because, as I just mentioned, Tennessee's losing games because they're turning the ball over. And it's the same thing with the 49ers. 49ers have had the same thing happen to them as well in their 6 losses this year. The 49ers, they've won all of their games in which they've won the turnover battle. So if the 49ers come out on the plus side, they're going to win. But if they have as many turnovers as takeaways, I think they're 2-2, and then they're 1-4 if they turn the ball over more than their opponents. So this matchup with as tight as it's going to be, I think the 49ers need to win this turnover battle, especially when you consider how tight these 2 teams are. The team that creates the most is going to come out on top of this one, and we'll get to that a little bit here in my prediction. Jumping over to number 2. And this is the next thing you need to watch for, is the 49ers' ability to run the ball. Tennessee is going to give the 49ers a big challenge here. The Titans are allowing the same yards per rushing attempt for the season as Seattle and Los Angeles. 2 teams the 49ers have somewhat struggled to run the ball against this year. But if you look at what Tennessee's done over the last 4 weeks, they've been lights out. They've allowed only 2.7 yards per attempt over the last 4 weeks. That goes up slightly to 3 if you look at the just the last 3 weeks. But it's a pretty daunting task to run against this Tennessee offense. The only team that's been able to find a moderate amount of success on the ground against Tennessee has been the Patriots. The Patriots are able to get to 4.4 yards per attempt, and that's a number that could provide a little bit of belief for the 49ers as you look forward in this game, because their offenses are similar in the way that they've approached this season. The 49ers are very, very run heavy, kind of like New England. A lot of similarities with the way that they're running their offenses, really based off of the run game and then throw coming off of that. You're seeing that play out quite a bit. So it's going to be a tough game for the 49ers in that respect. Real quick before I jump over to the next one, let's see what I got over here. No, Gav. Cannon is not off the IR yet. That's coming. They're hoping down the road here in the next couple of weeks. Moonman says, "Merry Christmas, Jack. You think it's possible we see the younger Lance today?" It's a possibility. I wouldn't bet on it, but if this game gets out of hand, I think you might see him come in. But I don't see him coming in otherwise. It just doesn't really match what the 49ers have been doing this year. And then CG Ruthless, thank you for joining, CG. Good to see you. He says, that's the wrong one. Time of possession is key. And that's a part of it, because when you look at the Tennessee offense with the way that they're moving the ball or needing to move the ball, I think you're going to see this be a game in which both teams kind of want to take the air out of the ball a little bit if they can. And what I mean by that is just grinding the clock and trying to limit the amount of opportunities for the other team. but this is going to be a tough one. The 49ers struggle to move the ball on the ground, and it's going to be rough. And then we jump to number 3, and that kind of plays right off of that. So that running game struggling, especially like it did at times against Tennessee. There were a couple series there, here and there where the offense was able to move the ball, but for the most part against Cincinnati, it was a little bit of a struggle. And if that's what happens here tonight, you're going to see the offense and the need to move the offense falling on Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulders. And can he do it? Can he carry it? Garoppolo has proven to be up to the task over these last 8 weeks, compiling a pass rate of 104.7, which during that time has been the best in the league. But this week he's going to be facing a Tennessee defense, which has allowed the second lowest passer rating among the 49ers opponents this season at 86.4. And on top of that, Tennessee has the 4th best passer rating in the league this year when it comes to throws into the middle of the field. As we all know, if you watch the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo, you know that they really like to work that middle area of the field. And Tennessee's been lights out on defense in the middle of the field, allowing only a passer rate of only 70.4, only 3 touchdowns there to 5 interceptions. So that's going to be a tough task for Garoppolo. I think definitely something to watch for is, are they able to how are they able to work over the middle of the field, given how well the safeties are. The safeties play for Tennessee. Kevin Byrd, I think is how you say his name, but he's a Pro Bowl player for Tennessee this year, and he's been really, really good for him. And Tennessee up the middle on defense has been strong overall. The linebacker core is strong. Their defensive line, especially in the middle, is really strong. And if the 49ers are going to have some success through the passing game, it might be that for Garoppolo to have some success, he might need a lot of help from his offensive line, because Tennessee has 3 really solid pass rushers, led by Harold Landry, outside linebacker, edge pass rusher. He comes into this game with 11 sacks. Jeffrey Simmons is a player who comes in with 7.5 sacks. He's kind of a Chris Jones type of player, if you know what I mean by that. Chris Jones being the defensive tackle for Kansas City that gave the 49ers offense so much trouble in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl. And so, Landry against Tom Compton, and Jeffrey Simmons against Daniel Brunskill, and then Danico Autry being the other interior pass rusher for Tennessee, having him go up against that group as well. And Autry comes into the game with 7 sacks. So those 3 have been very, very active. They present a big challenge for the 49ers offensive line tonight. And, as we've seen with the 49ers defense in recent week, getting to the quarterback can lead to turnovers. And if that's the case tonight, and it's the 49ers turning the ball over, it could just be what as I mentioned earlier, it could be what throws this game over to Tennessee and causes the 49ers loss. And so this is a really tough one when you take a look at the way this game matches up for the 49ers. I don't like the 49ers offense against Tennessee defense. I don't really like this matchup. I understand the skill position players for San Francisco are very good. Football games are won up front. And if the 49ers offensive line cannot win, this game is going to be a long one, I think, for the 49ers, even with Garoppolo and company back there. I just think it's going to be a real struggle for them if they're not able to run the ball, and it goes fall. If this thing falls on Garoppolo, I think it's going to be a long day, given what he does best. Number 4 is jumping over the defensive side of the ball. Basic here. Can the 49ers defense stop the run? And as I mentioned at the beginning of this, with Henry out, it was easy to kind of believe the Titans running game had fallen off. However, that's really incorrect. Over the last 4 weeks, Dante Freeman, Dontrell Hilliard, and Jeremy McNichols, primarily Foreman and Hilliard, have powered the Tennessee offense to an average of 4.8 yards per rushing attempt. That is actually higher than what Derrick Henry averages per attempt this year. Foreman and Hilliard, a couple weeks ago, they were up in New England. They were able to run for 270 yards on a really good Patriots defense. And like I said last week, in Pittsburgh, they ran for 200 yards. Both of those games were losses, but, in those 2 games combined, I think they had eight fumbles or 8 turnovers, and you just aren't going to win that way. And, so you've got a Tennessee offense that's running the ball real well. And on the other side, you have a San Francisco defense, which over the last 4 weeks is allowing only 3.8 yards per rushing attempt, and they've held 3 of their 4 opponents under 90 total yards on the ground. The lone exception during that time being the 146 yards that they allowed to Seattle up in that loss. But even that number is a little misleading because of the 73-yard fake punt that was run for a touchdown. That counts as a yards, rushing yards for Seattle. But other than that, they did a very good job against Seattle as well. So the 49ers run defense has been very good over the last 4 weeks. They're going to be facing another, I think, a really tough running game, and I don't think you're going to see it stop. And I think this game is going to be one as far as before we even get to the passing game. Again, like I kind of said at the beginning, with Taylor Lewan out, with Roger Saffold out, and then with Dylan Redun's starting at either left or right tackle, I think you're going to see Tennessee come out and really try to establish the run like they always do, and then get themselves into positions where it's maybe third and 5 or less, where Tannehill can it's just quick, quick 3-step out kind of throws, screens, and those types of things. I kind of would expect to see Tennessee move the ball up and down the field tonight. That's the feeling that I have when we've kind of seen teams do this to the 49ers throughout the year, where they move the ball well. But the 49ers have a tendency to do a really good job in the red zone. And so once you get down there and things get compressed, you don't have to worry about the ball going to your head so much. And so it's easier to play a little bit tighter coverage. And we've seen the 49ers do that very well last week. Look at the numbers last week's game as an example of how well the 49ers can play in the red zone. And I expect to see them having to deal with that a little bit tonight, because I think that you're going to see a Tennessee offense that's really going to be coming and trying to pound them. And like I said, with defense, with backup offensive tackles, backup offensive linemen, it's easier for them to get going in the run game than it is for them to get up to speed in pass protection. And last but not least, let's get to the 49ers pass defense. Number 5 is, can the 49ers pass defense, are they going to be able to keep Ryan Tannehill down? The play of Ryan Tannehill has really been the culprit for the drop-off of the Tennessee offense without Derrick Henry. A little bit more has been put on his shoulders. And over these last 6 games, he's averaged a passer rating of only 75.8. So you compare that to Garoppolo, 2 quarterbacks that are kind of at the opposite ends of the spectrum right now coming into this game. Tannehill's posted a rating of over 90 only once. And the biggest thing here with Tannehill is that in addition to the low passer rating, he's thrown 7 interceptions over the last 6 weeks, and he's also lost a fumble. And not only has he lost 1 fumble, but he's fumbled the ball a total of 6 times. So there's 5 other times the ball's been on the ground, and that's those kind of things. Sometimes fumbles are one of those that's you can't guarantee what's going to happen there because of the way the ball bounces and stuff. But those turnovers from Tannehill have been rough, and then that passer rating as well. But one of the things that's going to be helping out Tannehill tonight, excuse me, is that he's going to have Julio Jones back, and Jones, he has a little bit of a tweak with his hamstring, but he'll be starting tonight, as well as AJ Brown, who was activated as well. So the 49ers secondary is going to be, up against 2 really good wide receivers in Jones and Brown. I think it really creates a tough matchup for them, especially if Tennessee is able to get the ball out quick, like we talked about, because that's probably what's going to have to happen, because the Titans are going to be without their starting left tackle, Lewan, and left guard Saffold, and then, like I said, also the backup left tackle. So the loss of those linemen, and is one thing, and then you have the ineffectiveness of Quisenberry in pass protection. That could allow the 49ers pass rush to continue helping out that secondary, though. The secondary is going to be a little overmanned when it comes to who they're playing against. So in order for the 49ers to be successful, it's going to have to be the pass rush is going to have to get home. And they've done a very good job over the last 8 weeks. So since the 49ers lost D Ford, and they made the move to bring Arden Key into more of an interior pass rushing role in pass rush situations, moving Eric Armstead inside full time, and making Samson Ebukam the starter on the opposite of Nick Bosa, they've recorded 19.5 sacks over these last 8 weeks. They've been very good. They're actually getting after the quarterback better than Tennessee. They're at, right now the 49ers are averaging, I think, 4 sacks a game on the year, and I think Tennessee is right around 2.7 or 3-point something, but the 49ers are better when it comes to sacks than Tennessee, and that group that I just mentioned is really the key. And so if the 49ers can somehow make it so that they can take advantage of these Titans backup offensive linemen, it could be a really long day for Ryan Tannehill and really help the 49ers out with the possibility of winning this game. So that's those are the 5 keys that I have. My number one thing, and I'll get to my prediction. I'll answer some questions after this. And my prediction here is, before I give you the total, is that the team that wins the turnover battle is going to win. Talked about that earlier, and I don't think there's any way the 49ers win tonight unless they end up in the plus side. If it's even in terms of turnovers, the 49ers are not going to win. I don't feel like they're going to have enough to be able to win. This Tennessee defense is going to be too tough. I'm saying that it's going to be Titans 23, 49ers 20. The number might be a little high there for both teams, but that number is right around what the Titans have been able to put up this season when they're not, fumbling the ball over the field. And then the 20 is right around what the 49ers have done against teams of the Tennessee caliber. I kind of look at this Tennessee defense as a step above what Cincinnati presents. And if you remember that Cincinnati game, the 49ers offense really struggled there. So if you kind of take what the 49ers did in Cincinnati, short week, traveling all about to Tennessee. I know 49er fans don't want to hear it. They want to, only look at the negative things to Nashville or to Tennessee, but there's a lot against the 49ers, and there's a lot about this matchup not to like for San Francisco. So really quick, Waruna asks, can the 49ers jump to 5th place in the playoffs with a win tonight? They play the Rams on week 18. The answer to that is no. They're 2 games behind LA right now. They're going to need, the only way that they're going to get above LA is they just need LA to lose once. The 49ers if the 49ers win out here, they need to win their next 3. Or let's just say this, if the 49ers win this week and next week and against Tennessee, and the Rams lose either this week or next week, then that would set up a matchup where the 2 teams would be basically playing for that 5th seed, most likely in the playoffs, unless Arizona loses. Because the only way that the 49ers are going to jump over Arizona is the 49ers need to win out, and Arizona needs to lose out because Arizona owns the tiebreaker over the 49ers right now. So the only way the 49ers can get above Arizona in the playoff seeding is to win the rest of the way. So when you're looking at the playoffs, and you're looking at, it's not even really about, I guess it's a little bit about Los Angeles, and it's really about Arizona as well. Those 2 teams both need to help the 49ers out, but the 49ers can help themselves and help their own cause with a win here tonight. So let's see what else we got. If there was any other questions, I'm not sure. I'm glad to see, though, that Waruna agrees with my prediction. I do think it's going to be a great game. I think this is going to be a good game to watch. I think what you're going to see here is, I just have a feeling this game is going to be a lot like 2011, I think it was, when the 49ers went out to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Very similar styles, for Baltimore was, really a pound, defensive-driven team, wanted to be physical on the ground. The 49ers at that point were very similar as well in 2011 under Coach Harbaugh. They're that way now under Kyle Shanahan. And I just think that this game is going to be a tight game in the first half, and the 49ers are going to need a break here, because I think what's going to happen in these, especially these short weeks, and if it's a really physical matchup, that's a disadvantage to the road team because it's just their bodies, are going to be a little bit more tired than the home team because of the travel involved. And then Jay Will, I mentioned this one earlier. It was asked, but I'll address it again. Do you expect to see any of Trey Lance considering the short week? I don't. We haven't seen Lance play. Yeah, we haven't seen Lance play since when? The Arizona game that he started. I don't think he's been on the field since that point. If I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, but I don't think he has. And I don't think we're going to see him unless this game gets out of hand. or the 49ers, something happens to Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't foresee Shanahan just making a switch just to make a switch. I think that they're all in on Jimmy Garoppolo throughout the rest of the season. And the only way that Lance is going to the game is if it's a blowout in the second half. Other than that, I don't expect to see it. They've talked about how they don't necessarily like the way that the installing him in mid game has played out, because it kind of screws up their flow as a play caller. So that could be something to keep an eye on, though. We'll see. I mean, it would be kind of I get where you're coming from. I get where people are coming from here, because you don't have the time to prepare. The one thing I will say is that the question was asked to Shanahan a couple weeks ago. It was right around the same time that it was kind of coming out that he didn't like the the flow that was getting disrupted and so on and so forth. And so one of the reporters asked him about it, and he kind of said, well, we don't want him to know exactly what to prepare for. So who knows? Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that they're going to all of a sudden throw him out there. But I would say, if you're asking me to bet, I would say no. Jay Will, thank you very much. I appreciate that donation. Thank you, and hope you have enjoy the game tonight and have a happy Christmas, happy holidays with your family and your loved ones, whoever you're with. I really appreciate that. And then from over in Wales, Gav is going to be staying up late tonight. He asks, do we see another big game from Arden Key? Again, that goes right back to what we were talking about earlier. I think for the 49ers to get over in this game, I think they're going to need to have that defensive front play strong. And Key is definitely one of those guys that's in that role. He's going to be facing depending on which side he lines up on. He's going to be going up against a backup guard if he's on the right side of the 49ers defense. So it'll just kind of depend on how that works out. But yeah, he's definitely going to have a big game, I think. Yeah, one of the things I didn't get to was this Waruna. Azeez Al-Shaair is active today, so he will be playing. So that's a positive for the 49ers as well. They do get Azeez Al-Shaair back. And there was a question also about Trey Sermon. Let me see. Jesse asked, is there any idea on when Trey Sermon can come back? That's going to be coming up here. They did open up his practice window this week, and so we'll see. I know that they bumped Hill, the running back, up to the active roster. They pulled him off of the practice squad, and they moved him up onto the active roster today. So that could create. I think that's a move. I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with Trey Sermon. It might have more to do with where they feel Trenton Cannon is. So that question from earlier. So Brian Hill, the running back, along with Jared Wilson at safety, they were both promoted to the active roster, which means that in order for them to get back to the practice squad at some point this year, they would have to be released. And so right now, with the injury to Talanoa Hufanga, you have Jared Wilson replacing him, and then you have Brian Hill, who I think is really replacing Trenton Cannon for special teams purposes. The team also activated from their practice squad tonight Curtis Robinson, who's a linebacker, so you'll see him out there on special teams as well. Let's see what else we got. Ryan, do you expect Ambry Thomas to improve? It seems he improved from all the games he played. The 49ers need him to. They need him to get out there and continue to grow. Kyle Shanahan talked about liking the way that he played throughout the game, how he doesn't shy away from tough situations, and when he does make mistakes, he doesn't put his head down and pout about it. He just gets on to the next play and keeps competing. But they're going to need something out of Ambry Thomas today. And I'll tell you what, if the 49ers ask him to get into man coverage with these guys, especially on these like on a short yardage type of situations, I really like Ambry Thomas's ability in man coverage and tight man coverage and what he can do there. Based off what I saw of him in training camp, which was a while back. But I do think that Ambry Thomas is going to be showing some improvement. And if it doesn't happen tonight, you'll see it down the road. This is a real tough matchup for him against a guy who is used to be one of the best receivers in the NFL, and Julio Jones, who's still pretty good, but he's not one of the best any longer. And then AJ Brown, who's kind of, he's a bigger version of Deebo Samuel in size in terms of his physicality and what he brings. And if he's fully healthy, he could provide some trouble for the 49ers secondary tonight. Let's see. Definitely, I see Gav and Waruna talking about Jeff Wilson and Aziz. So definitely some good things there. But like I said, 49ers tonight, I say 49ers 20, Titans 23. The key here, turnovers. Can the 49ers win the turnover battle? If the 49ers win the turnover battle, they're going to win. Secondly, can the 49ers defense stop the running game? If they do those two things, I think the 49ers defense is going to have a really good shot at holding Tennessee under 20, which then helps out their offense. But I think it's going to be, if it's a 23-20 game, the 49ers are going to lose this one. I think the only way the 49ers win is by winning the turnover battle and holding Tennessee under 20 points. So, and then real quick, I'll go to this one. Special teams, can we do better? They need to, right? They need to. That's another area. That's almost that falls almost under the umbrella of the turnovers. If the special teams continues to give up big returns and help set up Tennessee in good field position tonight, that could play a role in making this a long game for the 49ers, because that means short fields could lead to field goals, points on the board, and that could be rough on them. And then Jay Mad says, can we really expect Julio and AJ Brown to have big roles today? It seems they were both rushed back. I think that I'm not saying that they're going to have big roles, but I think it's going to happen is you're going to see the 49ers, Tennessee, really try to run the ball early on. They're going to be trying to do what they do. They like to be physical. They like to pound it. They've been successful with that over the last 4 weeks, over the last 6 weeks, really, with the group that they have there, but more so the four, because the first couple of weeks they had, I believe they had gone with Adrian Peterson there, and that wasn't working very well. They let him go, and then they went with the group that they have now, and these guys have been running really well over the last 4 weeks. So I think they're going to play it. I don't see them getting a lot of targets, but I do expect to see Jones and Brown test this 49ers secondary. Travis, how you doing? Thank you very much. Bang Bang Niner, Bang Bang Gang from Bangor, Maine. Look at that. That's a good one. Bang Bang Gang from Bangor, Maine. I like that. From all the way out halfway across. You're closer to the game tonight than I am. I don't travel with the team this year, but that's awesome. Hope you enjoy the game, Travis. Thanks for jumping on and joining. I'm going to head out, but I think you guys have the keys for the game. 49ers win the turnover battle. They're going to win the game. If they don't, I don't think they win. Other than that, I think there's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of physicality on both sides of the ball, and let's see how it plays out. I will be back tonight. I'm hoping we'll see how this game plays out, what time my write-up gets done, but I'll either be back tonight or maybe sometime tomorrow. Most likely it's going to be tonight, though, with a recap of the game and a quick show after to do the answers and review the 5 keys that we just talked about. So just thank you all very much. And if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe if you could, please. And then also comment. I didn't put it up today. I should have. I had a little bit of a brain cramp here, but 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. I'll be on there throughout the game with a live blog, giving it. That's the main place to go if you want to see some updates and analysis and kind of from the game and my thoughts on what's happening, what the 49ers need to do. Jump over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Like I said, the Inside the 49ers blog over there will have we will have the live blog going. It's already up with the some information that we talked about here. It has the inactives for both teams. But check it out. There's a good group of folks over there that comment as well, so you can comment throughout the game. And like I said, just check it out. Add it to your favorites on your taskbar, and let's get after it. Have fun tonight, and I will be back shortly. I thank you all very much, and have a great evening. And if you don't come back and you don't see the show again before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as well. We'll talk to you soon, folks. Have a good night. Enjoy the game.